Hey, Sid, welcome to the podcast.
What's up? How are you doing?
Yo, this is a long time coming.
Y'all, like, no lie, like, I had hides as a sticky note on my desk so much that it was like a stained mark from that sticky note being there for so long. So I'm glad that I was just able to finally make it happen after months and months of trying to get this on the calendar.
No, yeah, I mean, look, you're also super busy outside of your personal life, and I mean, we're gonna get into the advances of Digital 319 as well later. But I've always seen that you're busy, and this podcast has been keeping me busy, so I totally understand it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But first off, let's let people know where to find you.
Of course. So actually, I recently changed my like OG sneaker page name. I was Sneaker Freak Sid. I recently changed it to Lucid Vibes, and I'm still figuring out if I'm vibing with her. We'll get more into it later in the podcast, but essentially, like, we all evolve over time, right? And so these last 2 years of becoming a mom, like, I've just changed so much. And I think when I started that page in 2020, like most of us, we started pages, but the love was already there before social media even existed. The name Sneaker Freak Sid just didn't really describe like me to this day anymore. So that was like part of the switch up. But if I decide to, merge pages, get rid of the page, I don't know, just throwing it out there. You can always find me on my personal as Sydnee Jonquel on Instagram. So yeah.
No, yeah. And then, you got Digital 319 also.
Business, got the podcast, Cooler Talk, Digital 319. So yeah, you can find me. Not one, you find all.
Easy to find. You gotta be easy to find in these. Yeah, it's tough. But you're here to answer the question that I ask everybody each week, and that question is, what's your first kicks? What's that first pair of sneakers you absolutely needed to have?
So my first pair of kicks that I absolutely needed to have, and I still like drool over this silhouette to this day, is the Jordan 14. So when I was in the 8th grade, this is probably like my 3rd year playing basketball. And the 8th grade girls, we all wanted a matching shoe this year. Like middle school hoops, y'all don't got matching nothing. Like we barely like matching warm-ups, whatever. Like you just come. But we all wanted matching kicks that year, and it was a black and pink Jordan 14 that dropped. Keep in mind, we're at a school. Our colors are maroon, green, navy blue, and like white. And we wanted some black and pink Jordan 14s to rock with our fit. And so I think my daddy might tell us like different, but I feel like that was the first pair of Jordans my parents like ever brought me, where I was like, Mom, Dad, I want these shoes so bad, so bad. Like everybody else getting them for the games. And they like surprised me for my birthday and like got them for me. That's like the first shoe that I remember like begging for, getting it for me. And to this day, like if it's a 14 drop in, 9 times out of 10, like I want it. I passed up recently on the they dropped like a gray colorway of them, but I mean from the Clot collab to Olivier's, like the black and white pair that they recently dropped, the Oreos again, like I gotta have them. Like I still love a 14 to this day.
Yeah, my first pair of 14s are the Clot. I got them.
Yeah.
But those things you have to have an arch in your foot. If you don't have an arch,
yeah, but that's true. That's true, because the way that little back part go up. I think whether I'm rocking them, like I can really rock those with a good flare jean or like skirts. So I'm always like, my sneakers is like, are they versatile? Like, can I wear them like throughout the year? I live in Texas, so we don't really have seasons. So it's like, one week is cold, the next week is 110. So like, I love shoes that I can just wear year round, no matter the month. And like 14s are those for me too.
I mean, but what's the barbecue situation like?
Situation, I'm definitely putting on the dunk. Like if we in somebody's backyard, it's gonna be a low for me of any type.
You over there with this? You're like, I'm next to the smoker. You just in there with a pair of dunks. Did you always live in Texas though?
I didn't. So actually, I'm from Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
But always been a Southern girl. So I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and then after I graduated college, my first job brought me out to Dallas, and so this year actually marked 10 years. Yeah, 10 years that I've been living here in Dallas.
Wow. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Century mark, yo. Like,
It's crazy, right?
yeah. I
Like
mean, it's
like I've been somewhere for 10 years or like I've been doing it's kind of crazy.
successful. Been somewhere successfully for 10 years.
I love it and we love Texas. But we got to skip back home every now and then. You appreciate home more for sure
Mm-hmm.
like after you move away, but yeah, I mean Dallas, most times people ask me like what's home, like Dallas is pretty much home at this point, like being for 10 years. So
For sure, for sure. When you grew up in Savannah, Georgia, was there like a sneaker scene, or did you start it, or was it just
So,
like?
I would say there was a sneaker scene,
Mhm.
but I think when you think back, 90s, early 2000s, we were all like getting our sneakers from Foot Locker, Just for Feet, um, where else? Like Hibbits, Athlete's Foot. So I would say like it was definitely like a sneaker scene. We weren't like, New York that had like a thing for like Air Force Ones or DMV for like phone posits. Like it was
Mhm.
just like whatever. So whether it was like K Swiss, Forces, whatever was hot at the time, like that's kind of like was the style. And I think Savannah definitely probably, got a lot of style more so from like Atlanta, right? Like
Mhm.
go up in the summers or like breaks during school, you go visit your family up in Atlanta or friends. And that's kind of like probably like we were just kind of probably like a subset of Atlanta culture down there. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, the I've never been to Atlanta, but I mean, I've had KO from ATATF on, and like I want to go to Atlanta so bad just to
Why have you
experience it.
never been?
I'm not. I mean, so I guess.
It's giving you don't got a reason. It's giving you don't got a
No, wait. Well, I've just not like I want to travel more, and I've made it like the past like year. I have traveled much more.
reason. Yeah.
Especially with the podcast. Like I'll go to Complex Con and stuff like that. So now it's like I need to see more of the city because more of the U.S. because of that. But then at the same time, I'm like, I do want to go to Japan. I want to go to Japan so bad.
Your favorite place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you been?
Yeah, me and my husband went to Tokyo. We went in 2019
Mm-hmm. Right before.
because it was right before the pandemic and they were selling Tokyo 2020 Olympic stuff and we got
Mm-hmm.
like a ton of it and then it like didn't really happen. So yeah, it's like
That's got to be worth money now. That's got to be worth money.
we got towels, t-shirts, like because we went in August and then
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic happened like right in March. So yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, Tokyo, Japan's on my list. Like I want to do like 2 weeks out there, but especially now because it's cheap now. So I want to do that. But yes, I want to. The reason why I had this bad problem, right, and I still have it, where I feel like work comes first,
Mm,
and so I don't take time
I
off.
need you to change that.
Yeah, and
Nope, I need you to change that right now. Like I'm about to remanifest your whole like travel desires and putting work last, putting you first, just because it's like I always tell my team, I think it has just a lot to do with like my story, like being a cancer survivor, but you got just one life. Like I could
yeah.
literally have 50,000 jobs, but I only got one life. Like you literally
Mhm.
got one. So just do it. Like just literally just go do all the things. Don't put it off. Just take the leap. Be like, I'm taking that Japan trip like next year. It's done.
Mhm.
Book the
It's
flight. Just do
I
it.
I have to do Brazil. I haven't seen my family in Brazil in like 15 years or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So people yell at me about it, but I have to do
Yeah.
that and I
What
have
part
to
of
go to Japan.
Brazil are you from? Or
Rio. I'm from
nice.
Rio de
Uh,
Janeiro.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to Brazil. I've only been to trying to think of South America. I've been to Argentina. That was actually the first country that I went to.
Wow.
Like when I first like my first time out of states was to Argentina, but it was for school, like for study abroad. But Costa Rica, I've probably done others. I just can't even remember, but I've never been to Brazil. And the year that we went to Tokyo, that was actually where my husband wanted to go for his birthday.
Hmm.
But that was the year that like the rainforests were on fire.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we pivoted and went to Japan instead. But yeah, that would have gotten checked off, but it was like crazy at that time. So
Well, next year. You
right.
telling me next year. I'm telling you next year. But like, so growing up, like, where you talked a little bit about Savannah, Georgia, and growing up with your family and stuff like that. But like, you played ball, so like, did you go to school for ball? Did you like what? How far did it take you? And then what was your pivot into what you wanted to do?
I'm 5'2", so let me just and
You never know. You could be nice 5'2". You out there cooking people.
right. So I played ball from 5th grade all the way through varsity high school.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely loved it. But my true like passion when I was in school, and like what took my heart the most was band. So I
Mm-hmm.
played the trumpet, but I was a drum major from my sophomore year up to my senior year. And I did both of those, like band, basketball, all 4 years, varsity, drum major.
How did like, was that like your parents, or was this you where you were like,
Really me, like
yeah?
craziest thing. So me, my siblings, I have an older sister and a younger brother. We were all like very like either athletically inclined, super competitive, always in things, which that was obviously a sacrifice and a blessing for my parents to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents were like the go to school, I don't want to do nothing else. Let me get this C just to get out. Like our parents were, like very uninvolved, like just did their own thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when they had us, they was like, "Nah, y'all need to stay in school because we had y'all super young. We don't want y'all repeating the cycle." Like, so yeah, like we were all like, my sister was a varsity cheerleader. She even cheered in like a Pro Bowl, like in high school.
Mm-hmm.
My brother did track, baseball, basketball. He did all the things.
Man.
But yeah, I think looking back, I never knew it then as a kid, but being involved, and then I was like class president both years, carried that on through like college, did a lot of, different organizations and stuff. But I think much more than like the sport of basketball itself or like being in the band, all those things, like now when I look back, it was just like grooming me to be a leader. Like what
Mm-hmm.
I loved about it was leading or like helping or teaching. And throughout that time, like I was always that kid that was like the artsy writer. Give
Mm-hmm.
me a paper and a pen, and I'll go crazy. Like I don't do math, don't do science. Still to this day, don't. But when it comes to like writing and the arts, like that was always like my gift. And um, when I got into college, I went to University of Georgia. Go Dogs!
Hey.
And my major was advertising from day one. Like I knew I
Mm.
wanted to be in journalism. I knew I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a copywriter, write TV commercials, magazine spots, whatever. And then kept that same major all 4 years, which I know every time I talk to somebody, it's so rare to just like, dang, you went in as a freshman. That was my desired major. Got into Grady College of Journalism at UGA my sophomore year. Um, Majored in it, got a degree in it, worked in it, have now built an agency on it. So it's just kind of crazy. Like I knew from day one what I wanted to do.
It's
And
absolutely wild. You because like me, you talk about me. I went to school for computer science, thinking I was going to develop games. Ended up switching that major to print production management,
wow.
and then from there, I like left. I graduated and I worked in print for like a year or two, and then I ended up working at entertainment after that. Like I worked at Comedy Central, my first job. Like after, like had nothing to do with my degree, and now I work in an ad agency, so I've even pivoted even way more off
Oh,
of it. Yeah, so yeah,
yeah.
but you staying true to it, like it's super fire.
Yeah. It's so crazy because like at sometimes I'm like, especially like now, like having my own company and like getting new clients, like the things that I'm just able to just like do in my sleep because I'm like, see, you've been doing this since you were like 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I've literally just kind of like watched the landscape of marketing change, like because I've been with it since day one. Like when I started, like literally Facebook and Twitter was the only thing popping. Instagram was like not really a marketing channel. It wasn't even out like when we graduated. And then to just see where like that has evolved is just
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And then the other part of it is just like because the norm, I feel like for most people is I majored in this one thing, but I do something totally different now. Is this desire to like, am I supposed to do something different at some point? Like, do I just stay this like who's hiring like a 40-something-year-old marketer down the line, like a social media man? Like what? So yeah, I kind of like sometimes have this like side brain conversation of like, when am I supposed to do something else? Because like I've been doing this for this long.
I mean, see, so I think with the beauty of what you're doing is that there's so many things get
Yeah,
out of, like, you can jump into so many different things, right? You can, at any given moment, you can be like, all right, cool, now I can be a project manager for a
exactly.
brand or something like that, you know? And so I think that you're in a position where you do have that, like, lateral, well, not lateral, you can move up and go around into
Mhm.
any different thing and use that as, like, your pivot, or
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, that was, like, essentially kinda like
how you're able to pivot, you know, since you've been doing this for so long. But I think that you have a skill from doing this for so long that it is easily transferable. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I think, like, the crazy thing is because I was always a writer, like, and I knew going into college exactly what I wanted to major in. I wanted the ultimate goal is to be a copywriter, like, at so when my first job that hired me found me on LinkedIn, like, this is back 2014, reload to Texas, moved to Dallas. I had never been to Texas before, never been to Dallas to be a copywriter. And the first brand that I was copywriting for was TGI Fridays. I was like rewriting their like menus and
Let's
like
go.
real
Bacon strip, or no, potato skins, the potato skins.
descriptions, like drink descriptions, like, and it was dope. Like that's what I wanted to do. And then 6 months into my job, the agency that I was working at, they won the Dr. Pepper Snapple Group account. I think they're like
Mm,
Keurig Dr. Pepper now, but and they won it for digital. This was their first digital account ever. This is the agency that created the cow campaign for Chick-fil-A, Home Depot. Like this, they have a lot of, great kind of campaigns under their belt and their heritage, and they won a digital account. They're so used to.
mm-hmm.
And so they were basically like, all you young whippersnappers who just came up out of college and just started here in the last 6 months, we need y'all to go do this digital stuff on
Yeah,
so literally started Dr. Pepper's Instagram.
that's crazy.
Twitter, like crazy stories about like brands that I like started in 2014, 2015 on social because it didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dr. Pepper for general market and Hispanic were like my main brands. And then throughout my time there, Bud Light, Home Depot, avocados from Mexico were like all of my main brands that I mean, we got Facebook, Twitter. That's all it was. Social listening, like creating reports before these platforms had like insights. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what, like, to your point, it's absolutely true. You get some type of role, I feel like in marketing or the broadcast media space or something, there are so many transferable skills. And so
Yeah.
that's probably why I stuck with it for so long because you can never get like went in as a copywriter, did that for 6 months, became a social strategist, have done that since. But as a social strategist, I get to write copy and develop strategy and do
Mm-hmm.
audience insights. Like it's so much that goes into it. So I don't think I ever truly get bored. I just know in 2020 when I launched my own company, I was bored of working for the man and I was
Oh
bored
yeah.
working for these huge brands that, y'all really don't need me. Yeah, I'm great at my job, but y'all don't need me. But there's
Mm-hmm.
other businesses out here that look like me or, don't look like me, but that are struggling. They have great services, great products, but they just don't know how to market. And
Yeah.
I go pour my like skill set into that. So that's pretty much how I like started Digital 319.
So I mean, shout claps all around. Everybody listening, clap it up, clap it up. Like this is a drink champs. But so like I've had a couple other, like I've had Tim Chisano on, and we talk about working in corporate settings and being into sneakers and being
Mm.
into streetwear and stuff like that. So like, how were you able to basically be yourself in these settings?
Yeah, that's a great question. First job at an ad agency, I felt like I could just show up as me. I was literally the only black woman in that agency.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 22 years old, like in a new state, in a new city, had never been here. And on top of that, my first corporate job, and the only black chick, I'm like, was I the only black person? I feel like I was the only black person, period, for a while.
That's crazy.
And
That's got to be like a culture shock. Like,
I would
what
say
was
to an
that like?
extent, but I went to University of Georgia, which is predominantly white, so, but it was a shock to be that person, and I'm now, like, leading something that this agency has never done, and I had a boss at the time, and it was just 3 of us that were, like, the social people, and the good thing, though, I think one thing that kept me rooted there and kept me loving that job, the people were great, but also I could wear sneakers, I could wear
Mm-hmm.
jeans, I could, like, and it was even to the point where, like, I would come with, like, I remember one time I wore some, like, KDs, like, might still have that pair somewhere. But it was like these peach KDs that were out, and I wore them, and like so much so that other people then started wearing sneakers who didn't really wear sneakers.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what kept me rooted. There was that I was actually able to be myself. Then when I transitioned over into the corporate side and I started working at airports, you know, as a social person, but it's very corporate, very vanilla. You got to come with business casual every day. I immediately hated those jobs. Like, also the culture and the people at those places were like not the best, but I hated the job and I came to learn that it was because I couldn't show up like as myself. So um that was definitely like a big part of that first job, was that I clearly just come and like wear exactly what I wanted.
No, yeah, I mean that's sick. I think the it's like I was talking about this in my current job because one of the people there was just like, she was just like, I love how you dress like yourself in here. Like you're not afraid to be yourself. And I wanted to be like, that's because I kind of don't want to be here a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But
Like the minimum I could do is just be me. Right.
But yeah, it's funny because I remember when I first got into corporate America, I was always like, oh, I gotta have my button downs. I gotta
Yeah.
be, I gotta wear, work appropriate sneakers or whatever. And you kind of like, I feel like, I don't know if that's just something my parents told me, and then like my mom was like, you got to dress up for the job or whatever. And now we live in this era where, even the presidents are pulling up in like a Supreme
Exactly.
box logo.
Exactly. And isn't it crazy to think though, like, I mean, obviously I haven't been in a corporate office setting in the last 5 years, but like, it's crazy to think that we lived at a time for so many decades where every single day you need me to dress like, I get it if it's like a uniform job and your attire like actually
Right.
matches your job. For instance, my husband's a firefighter, so he got to show up to work a certain way for the job that he does. He can't come with basketball shorts. He needs tactical pants and cargos and all types of things, right? But like, it's kind of crazy to think in a corporate office setting, like you couldn't just come as you were, like, and okay, we got a presentation or something, then maybe there's a dress code, but like every single day you need me to just like dress by this like paper thing that you tell. That's kind of wild. Like,
Yeah.
about it.
It's ridiculous, and I think it's just like I said this before. I was just like, it should matter about your output and not your outfit, right? I mean, look,
Sure.
I've heard stories of people pulling up in like fishnet shirts and stuff like that. Like, all right, that's where you got to be like, all right, let's have this conversation. I guess you don't understand, like, just like you want to be fly. Just don't dress like you about to go to chill on the block, like.
Exactly. And it's like that's why I guess I get into an extent like why there were always parameters, but I'm glad, like, it's certain things that I'm very thankful for the pandemic for, and that's one of them. Like, I felt like it just forced companies to have to operate differently, because if you don't, you're not gonna hire people. People are not gonna want to work there. You know what I mean? Like, you had to bend the rules a bit, and I feel like dress code was just one of the first ones. It's just like, we can't expect these people to go from a year wearing pajamas, behind the computer, to now y'all just about to be in button downs and suits.
Yeah, I remember, I took an interview, and I was like, I think I had basketball shorts on, but I had a button down, just like, and the button down wasn't even fully buttoned. It was it was all right. It wasn't like wrinkly, but the shirt, I think I buttoned like the first three, whatever you can see.
Yeah.
On the camera, I was like, all right, cool. I just got to button that, and then the rest was just out. I was just like.
That's why I'm like, 9 times out of 10, including right now, I always have on fuzzy socks. Like, I have like full pants. Nope. I got fuzzy socks because that is like my go-to comfortability, like in my office. Like,
that's fire. Fuzzy socks. I might have to add that to the list. So you moved to you said Dallas?
Yeah, to Dallas.
Dallas, right? And now, like, did you always have a huge collection? Because we see the background. So
the thing is, this is just what's in my office. Don't even get my husband started on our closet in the second guest room, because this is just, this is what it say. And crazy story, I forget what we had on this wall, but when Nike came to shoot the drop off for the Not So Much Tina J's, we shot it in here in my office, and we're just making like a small little kind of like makeshift of a few boxes. And then after Madison, the team left, I was like, you know what? How about I just like move a lot of my shoes into here? So no, I wasn't the kid that grew up with my parents like buying me Jordans. I like I said, they had us young in their 20s and it was three of us. Like so they was not doing that. Like K Swiss, Reebok had them all the time. A couple of years some Air Max 90s. But I didn't really get like Nikes and Jordans until like maybe high school, and I had a little bit of change from like report cards or something. And it was honestly when I moved to Dallas. I moved in 2014. I think Shannon and Cassidy started SNK Daily in 2016. And Center had just opened, like maybe in 2014, Sneaker Store here Center. And the Dallas sneaker scene I feel like was popping off like really strongly and boldly when I moved. So while I always loved sneakers, I was always a sneaker girl. I didn't like have the funds to just be going and buying sneakers. But when I moved here and had my own job, had my own place, that's where my money went. Like, went straight to my shoes. So I actually moved. The very last corporate job I had was in Southern California. So I moved there for 2 years between 2018 and 2020. Really great job. Like that's when I like really moved up the ranks. I left there as like the director of digital. Was making great money to kind of still just be me and my boyfriend at the time. And all my money went to shoes. So I would say probably from 2014 to now. I mean, like that's when my collection like really really grew. But as a kid, I had what my parents brought me, and I would hold on like to them for like ever because it
Yeah.
like like I even if they got me something like them two pairs at the start of the year and then some at Christmas, it was like something I really really wanted. But it wasn't until like I would say like young adulthood where I was just like it's going to shoes, and so probably over the last I don't know like 10 years my collection like grew.
I mean, look, it's a beautiful thing
Yeah,
because who would have thought that you would end up on the Nike app and then
yeah, that's true.
doing some stuff just off of
Crazy.
that. So like you're talking about how Dallas' sneaker scene started booming while you were there. So what did you see that kind of like influenced you into being like, oh, maybe I could like do this a little bit more, do this on a bigger stage that more speaks to me.
Yeah, I feel like honestly, when I like really started, and this was, I think especially as a digital strategist, it's very hard to like not weave in the impact that social media had at different points of our, like adulthood as well. And this is also the time where like Instagram is getting like really, really popular. And I think honestly, probably one of the first couple of sneaker pages that I follow here are probably CNK Daily, Center, and Sneaker Politics. And just seeing like now like having more exposure, before then you were just, if I was at the mall, you had to go to the mall or like go stake out for a shoe or like see it on somebody else's feet and be like, what's that like? But now you're like literally exposed, just this is before we got sneakers out. I think we still had like Sneaker Talk and a lot of blogs back then, but like this is when you're like literally we're now being exposed to things that it's just like, oh, where can I get it?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it wasn't until maybe 2020, honestly, when I started my sneaker page. The whole background to me starting Sneaker Freak Sid was because I've been in this marketing and brand game for 8 years at that time. And I just wanted a page that was just free. That was free of measurement, free of impressions, free of engagements, free of a client like down my back about what are we posting, what are we doing, how's it doing? Like a page that was just something that I could have that I wasn't like worried about measurement or engagement or reach or anything.
Yeah. For listeners who don't understand this, these are like these are terms that we use within advertising and marketing to gauge how if a post that we put up or something like that is successful. So that deals with a lot of like I feel like people like cruise past it of like, oh yeah, this is engagement farming, but you're like, but what are you trying to engage, what's
Exactly.
farming that you're trying to engage and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
And
yeah.
it's all like behaviorally tied, no matter what side of the coin of it you're on, right? And so I just feel like it wasn't until 2020 when I started like really naturally just connecting with people. Like some of my best friends to this day, I literally just found them through Instagram. Like me and you doing this right now is through the sneaker communities of the different pockets of the
Yeah.
world that have come together, and we're on here. And it wasn't until I really started to make friends, I feel like, that again, I didn't create the page to do it, but it just naturally happened, where I was just like, wow, like, and seeing the opportunities, that other people were doing and how they were connecting with the brands. And I feel like the very first thing that I did from the brand side was somehow I got connected with doing like focus groups for Nike on a lot of women's line for like GRs or like things that they were thinking about bringing back, things that I see now in the sneakers app. And I'm like, dang, I wear tested that shoe like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it just blossomed from there. Like, but again, it wasn't. I never created that page to become anything. And I think it's just a testament of like when you just naturally pour yourself into something without desire or goal, sometimes like you're just naturally being you, stuff just like comes from that. But yeah, I don't even think in 2014, 2016, when I really started to like buy my collection and just really get back into sneakers with having money to do it now, that I even knew then that, hey, one day you might work with Nike's Web3 team, or you might do this with Foot Locker, Athlete's Foot. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I mean, it's absolutely wild. The opportunities that I've seen you get through are like super dope, and I love seeing it. The especially like I've had several women on, and we talk about just like women's place in sneakers and how this is such a male dominated hobby and this and that. But then it's like once I people try to shine a light on that, people instantly are like, "Oh, but you don't deserve it. What do you
Yeah.
mean?" And I hate it. I hate it. So like, you deserve all the flowers that you get, all the opportunities.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
But like, is there a moment that where you went to go get a pair of sneakers and somebody noticed you, or like, is there a moment where you you were able to celebrate that like you've come this far?
I'm trying to think. I feel like I'm trying to think where I was at. It might have been like a sneaker con or something like that. Where somebody like called me out by my Instagram name, and I was like, "Wait, what? Like, why like, wait, my Instagram?" Just like, wait, like, how do you even know me? But then you think about your pages and like posting all the time. But
I
um,
would have been like, "Oh, I think they're trying to fight me."
right. Yeah, I think it was like at a sneaker con or something one time, or like I've been to an event, and it, just more so like maybe people you've like DM'd with or commented with like a couple of times through posts, and like y'all finally like meet up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is always wild sometimes to me, like in my DMs or my stories, like when people who, again, like literal strangers you've never met, you probably would never meet them a day in your life, that just like, celebrate you, or like if I'm like reposted by another brand and they're just like, oh, that's so and so. And I'm like, how do you even, like know? But that's what I mean. I know the sneaker community gets its ups and downs and like
Mm-hmm.
it's trash because people who they ain't been in this sense of like, it's so much riffing around it, but at the same time I feel like it's so much celebratory like moments and like good love, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's not like talked about enough. Just like the good genuine connections, honestly, and relationships that people form, whether like with complete strangers, like again,
Mm-hmm.
I've never met, we've never been in the same room that we know of, but here we are,
I
like,
mean, I've never stepped foot in
right,
Dallas, so we could.
here we are, like dedicating time on our Sunday to spend
Mm-hmm.
and talk to each other. Like, who was doing this before the pandemic? Like, who was doing this?
Definitely. I definitely felt like sneakers were a lot more disjointed before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, I felt like a lot of people were just like, "Yo, this is all we got right now."
Mhm.
Like everybody was always looking for like that glimmer of hope of like, how do we keep this, a connection going, and
Yeah.
that's where I spend way too much time on Clubhouse, but I was on Clubhouse talking sneakers.
Dang. I've heard somebody recently like reference. I was like a podcast I was listening to, and they were like the clubhousepreneurs, like, and they were just talking about like all the people who like became these like business owners through.
Yeah.
I was like, but nah, I was on Clubhouse heavy, like for real. But I literally knew, just again, going back to like the behavior of like social I was like, when the pandemic is over,
Mm-hmm.
baby, and we go back to work, this app's done.
Done.
App's done. Like I said it every day. Like as much as I would be like, I was like, this model is not sustainable.
Mm-mm.
Model is not sustainable. Like literally when we in work, even if I work in my home office, like I'm watching things on mute. After
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who's doing this still? And I just saw like two of the co-founders of Clubhouse. They're creating like a new app now.
Yeah.
But a couple of them came from Netflix. But yeah, I would say all the time, as much as I was spending time, I was like, when the pandemic is over, this shit's dead. This app is not sustainable. And
it it's wild because like they had so much time to like throw ads in there to make some money off of
yes.
it, and they did not capitalize at all.
And I almost wish they would have had like their whole like ad strategy and platform going before they even launched it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, just to solidify from the moment they launched, because it just as fast as it took off, just as quick as that shit ended. Like
Yeah.
it was over. Like it was over. And I'm like, dang.
I mean, I remember what happened.
I said, good run, Clubhouse.
Yeah, but I remember being in those rooms and people be like, you look at people's pages and it'd be like dot connector, and you'd be like, man, what are you connected? What dots are you connected? And so now, like, I'll go outside and stuff like that, and I'll be hanging out, and I'll be sometimes I'll be like, I think I'm a dot connector. I'm putting people together. I think I know what a dot connector is now.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So you talked about branching out of and working for yourself now. So like, where was that moment where you it just flipped in your head? Like, I think I'm good.
So it was I never actually voiced it in this way, but it was an act of love.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my husband, we've known each other since 6th grade, high school sweethearts. I went to University of Georgia. He went to a D2 school in Nebraska, played football through college. So we did long distance through college. And then
Damn.
when my
Shout out
first
to y'all.
yeah, when my first job moved me out here, he still had a semester left of football, so he played that last year, and then he moved here. I moved here July 2014. He moved here January 2015. And to fast forward, we got engaged in 2020, February 2020.
Hey, right
Literally
before.
right before. And at the time, like I said, I was actually in Cali, like working in Cali. We would just every other weekend,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be here, he'd be there, like we'd just take turns or whatever. And we got engaged February 2020, and I like we wasn't about to do a long distance marriage or engagement, you know. And at this point, we've been best friends since we were fucking 11 years old. So
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, so looks like I need to go back to Texas because I loved Cali. I'm from the South. Like I just couldn't see like raising a family in Cali. Like I just couldn't. As much as I loved it, I couldn't see us there. And so literally I was actually moving back like for a surgery that I had on my foot.
Mm-hmm.
And that week when I'm like my parents came out there to get me and my dog, and we're like driving back from Cali to Georgia. Like just kind of like moving because I was gonna be out for like a month. It was on my foot, so I was like not gonna be able to walk.
Yeah.
And this is the week when COVID is happening. We went to the Lakers Clippers game, last game before the bubble.
Oh my god.
Game. And we're like packed up next day. They're driving me basically from like LA back to Savannah, Georgia. And it's like a 3-day trip. We're gonna make stops. We're driving, we get to like Phoenix. It's like there's a case of COVID-19. Like it's one case. By the time we get to Georgia, it's like 10 cases. And by the time we get there, Cali shuts down. So I'm in Georgia for the surgery that I'm about to have. And then my job has shut down. So I got an apartment in Cali. I'm in Georgia for the surgery. My man is in Texas. And long story short, I knew like in that moment, I was like, okay, so it's no point in me going back to Cali. Like when I'm done with the surgery, I'm gonna just go to Texas and kick it with Antonio. And yeah, it was at that point I was just like I just kept having these thoughts of like, see, you've been doing this for like brands for so long. And then remember, this is at the time now where nobody can go outside. When you did go outside to like get food, you can't even freaking order for real because now they like had this makeshift QR code, scan the QR code, their website's ass. It's just like this whole like time of just like what is happening. And so just those small, again, you gotta keep in mind at this point, I've been doing this for like 8 years.
Yeah.
See how many like immediate struggles of small businesses were happening just domino after domino because they couldn't sustain the marketing it took to survive the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so many people need help. Like, and this is simple shit. Like, this is stuff I could do in my sleep.
Yeah.
So, I told my boss at the time, we were really great friends because him and I worked at DFW Airport here in Texas before he pulled me out there to Cali.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, I think I'm gonna start my own company. Like, I just think it's time. Like I'm tired of working for the man. I didn't see myself going back to Cali anyway. We had just gotten engaged, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like, well, that sounds good, but like you're a director of digital, you built this whole team, you've hired the agencies, like, can we just become a client of whatever company you start?
Whoa. That's crazy.
Passed them a resignation. They passed me a contract. They still a client to this day.
That is crazy. That's a yo. That's crazy. Yo, you you turned I can't even explain it. And then you had like so many twists and turns. That roller coaster, and that roller coaster landed safely. Oh, that's crazy. And they ask you if you want to go more. You want to go more, one more round.
Yeah. So when that happened, when God like placed that on my lap, like your current job is about to become a client. Like they used to pay you, and now you're about to charge them
Mm-hmm.
for your services. I was like, okay, like that's
That's a
nothing
no brainer.
that's nothing I could have mapped out and checked off a to-do list and done the right things and got the right awards and certificates. I couldn't have done that. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
all God. And so in that moment I was like, well, cool. And like I said, they're still a client to this day. Since then we've worked with so many great brands. Like we've done some co-agency collab work with like Spring Hill with LeBron and Maverick Carter's production agency.
Mm-hmm.
We have some new business right now. Can't speak about the brand, but it's been awesome. And every time, I think a lot of times when people ask me about like that transition, like when do you know, like to go from full-time entrepreneur or full-time employee to full-time entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you have to be in a space of you've surrendered, like whatever that desire is that you have, you just surrendered that. Look, I'm gonna just show up and work this job for however long I need to work it and wait till the time is right. Like I think a lot of people think like, well,
That's me
when I
right now.
yeah, like when I $500,000 or when I save up da 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 da. Like it's not that. Like
Mm-hmm.
because if you're gonna walk into, I've had a friend tell me this multiple times. Like when you're gonna walk into your calling, like the money's always gonna be there.
Yeah.
And I think I was ready, but I wasn't. I wasn't just about to jump. Pandemic, engaged or not, I wasn't just about to jump and be like, I'm gonna just do my own thing. It was when I got that note, like from
Mm-hmm.
my boss at the time. He was like, well, can we be a client? I was like, that's God, bro. You're not even speaking. I'm not speaking. Like that's just God. And literally since then in my business, at that point, I was like, I thought like I was just gonna be like a small consultancy, just me, helping brands out. And I was that for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kept growing. I kept having more work. Then I got hands and brains and time. And now I have a team of 8.
Nice.
Um, and it just keeps thriving. And I literally just got to give glory to God because I show up. I'm like, whatever you need me to do. I'm not gonna worry about this client not coming back. I'm not gonna worry about this contract we didn't get. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I just show up, and it just keep happening.
I mean, it's interesting. You touched on it a little bit, but like, how, when you have moments of like, oh, this contract you didn't get it. Is it better to be like goldfish memory about it, like, or do you take it like how you take, like I would say, in like, this is how I think about it too. Like in sports, I was very like, I don't care. I don't care how bad I played today or this
Yeah,
game. I moved on to it's the next game. I'm turning my page to. I'm turning the page to.
yeah, yeah.
So
I'm definitely like that. Like, I mean, it hurts, right? Like the whole time that even if you're like pitching a business or something, like pitching for another client, like the whole time you're going through it, no matter how many, like we both talk about, like I've been doing this for 10 years,
mm-hmm.
still get imposter syndrome, still feel like, I don't know if we're the right fit. You're going through this pitching, but, and then say you don't get it, you absolutely have, not only just the time and the effort that you put in it, and in my seat, the payroll that you had to, dedicate towards
Mm-hmm.
that, whether you got it or not. Um, but you have to be able to, I think that's why I like always go back to that word, to just surrender and know that like what's for you is not gonna pass you.
Mm-hmm.
So while you thought that was going to be a great client, you never know like what's coming next. Like literally, it's kind of been a season we've been recently of like we've been pitching a couple of different brands, and while we're actively pitching others, to other like new clients just came that like I could have never like thought of. I didn't even have them on our radar. Like
Mm-hmm.
amazing brands that we would always love to have on our roster, but we weren't even actively over there like in that space. And so I mean it's just that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you just got to just show up and do the work. Like it sounds so like tactical and so simple, but I think when
Mm-hmm.
I say show up and do the work is just like show up and just do the work that you can do, that you can be called to do. Like and don't think too hard about it. Like literally
Mm-hmm.
when you just do what you're like skilled and talented and naturally love to do and innately like having you to do, like whatever is for you is not gonna pass you. Like literally.
For sure. I mean, you touched on imposter syndrome, and I feel like I've heard that being spoken to me too many times from too many
Yeah.
people. I mean, can you talk about a little bit of, or like a scenario where that like you feel like that it came up, and what did you do to move past it?
Mm, let me see. I would say for me, as a not just like a social digital strategist, like loving and knowing my craft, but also the fact that I have to wear the hat of, mom and wife, and then also
Mm-hmm.
wear the hat of CEO. Like it comes up for me, I feel like more often um in two spaces. I would say one in the you got these three major hats that you have to wear every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Are you capable enough to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like do you have enough bandwidth even just to think out loud, to hear yourself, to be Sid, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So I would say to be Sid, like I'm naturally creative, like we talked about. The content creator and the sneaker freak Sid that I was before becoming a mom, like I'm a whole different girl now. Like, and so imposter syndrome comes in that way because it's like even now sometimes when I'll have the camera roll locked in, the drafts locked in, the content I might want to put out, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Sid, you've been away from it source for so long in my head. You know what I'm saying? For so long, like, it's not worth it. Just hold on to it. Don't put it out. So I was saying that sense of wearing all the hats that I have to wear, imposter syndrome comes up from like a content creator perspective now
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not able to produce and output in the way that I was having a talk with my like health coach the other week and just saying how I realized that I'm a very all or nothing person.
Mm-hmm.
So say if it's like a whole room full of laundry that needs to be folded and it's 4 baskets, if I can't fold all four, I'm not doing any of them.
Right. Yeah, I feel you on that.
And be like, "Oh, I'll tackle one each day." Hell nah. If I can't do them all tonight, I'm
Right
not
now, do it right now.
then they'll stay there for weeks. And so I think that all or nothing kind of like mentality plays into my imposter syndrome because if a new client, and then recently from a business perspective,
Mm-hmm.
have a new client, we've never worked with this style of client before, but
Yeah.
I knew for what he needs, like I'm like, we can get you there. Like we're a great fit for him. But his story and where he's going, he's a retired pro athlete. We just never worked with that style before. And but
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, but I know like my team is like we're it. And so you go through imposter syndrome, or at least for me sometimes, and when I'm working with a new style of client that we may not have had on the roster before, or it's
Mm-hmm.
been a while since I've worked with, or when I worked with that client like that before, I was with a bigger agency or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like, oh, like, are we really, going in the right direction when we present to him? Is this gonna really like solidify like what he's looking for? And then I usually can on the business side, I usually can just calm that with a simple like, back to like if it's for you, it wouldn't have passed you up. And if God put this on your plate, like He's not gonna leave you. So like I kind of sit with that. But on the I would say like the internal, more personal side, like that's what my imposter syndrome is more. And it's just like me versus me. You know what I'm saying? It's not like deep a comparison where you're like looking on your feed and it's just like, oh, but I want what she got. It's not even that. It's just me versus me, like in my head, like me psyching myself out,
Yeah.
thinking that I have too much going on and I just can't handle it all.
Mm-hmm. I feel you on that. I think maybe I'm in the same boat when it's
Yeah.
like, so I've been trying to figure out like what kind of content I want to continue to push, right? Or like the voice that I want to be on the internet now. Because in the beginning, I was kind of just making content just to make it, and I would be like, I'll make bullshit jokes and here and there, but that's what everybody else was doing, right? Well, like, so now I'm like, okay, I'll focus to just doing podcast, and not like all this extra stuff. And now, but then I'm also like, but I have this idea and I want to do this idea, but if I don't if I don't
Continue
go,
the idea.
yeah, but if I don't believe in, like, okay, I can do this right now, or I don't have the time to do it right now, then I'm just keep pushing it back, right? So it's just like, I don't know if it's like the belief in, like, oh, I can't do it. It's the belief of, like, am I gonna do it how I want to do it? And I think that paralyzes me. And I feel like a lot of people are in that thing where they just like, they feel they have a good idea, but it always stops. Like, they're like, but am I able to execute it how I really want to execute it? Or like, is it going to look how I really want to look? Or is it going to get missed? And then you just like, you just start you get spiraling.
Spiral literally in your head. And it's the craziest thing to me how, like, I can have an idea I thought of 20 minutes ago in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll hop on a meeting with my team and just blurt that shit out and tell them the idea. And either they latch onto it, go to a different direction, like, oh yeah, Sid, that's fire. Like, let's do this and this and that. Or they're just like, not really rocking with that. Like, because I value transparency on my team.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to us as creators, we'll do this spiral shit. And
Yeah.
an idea and not do it. And just like you said, like, I was scrolling back through like my page the other day, and like when I first started out, it was like unboxing. And now it's just like, I can never imagine like me just sitting getting like everything I just picked up, like, reel of unboxing, like, that's just not my content style anymore. And so to hear you even say like, like, I've kind of stuck with the podcast. And sometimes I have these other ideas. Like, we go through this spiral of like, well, this is the box I created. I love our podcast, but I want to do this other thing. But can I do both? Am I going to be able to keep this one up? Because if you're all or nothing, you're a lot like me, where it's just like, if I do one, then I need to have like 5 in the queue.
Yeah.
Just like put this out, and it's the one thing. So, man,
I know. Yeah. So like, I was trying to do this. Like, I forgot. Trying to come up with this series on TikTok, and nobody was watching it. But I was like, I'll fuck with it. I'm gonna just keep trying.
I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah. So I did like 7 videos. I did 7 videos in like 2 nights or something like that. And I was just like, boom, boom, boom. I knocked them out. And then the videos were just doing absolutely nothing. And I was just like, damn, so that's what happens. Then I feel like, damn, I really just wasted my time. So I don't want to do this again. Right. So like recently, I made a video. I do clips. I've like streamlined my page. So it's just like a bunch of clips. And then I made a clip and I posted it. It only got like 300 views. And I'm like, I spent 3 hours doing this thing. Like, you can't do that. I immediately just start spiraling, like, why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then, I'm still trying to get more people to watch that specific clip because it's a really good clip. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, like, sometimes this social media just does not want to fuck with you at some point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like, I think that's the double-edged sword of it all, right? Like, sometimes as like working on the marketing end of it, as a social strategist, I wish that all social media platforms would just strip the engagements. Like, if I'm an advertiser and a marketer, let me see it if I'm working with somebody. But the normal day-to-day user, strip them. Like, because that will literally create a community of creative expression. With them there, with the numbers and all of that. Because think about it. I'm gonna just start like a random podcast, like Club Shay Shay, right? Do we really care to see that they got 10,000 views? I'm gonna watch it anyway. You see what I'm saying? If your thing came up on my feed and it interests me in my first little 2 to 3 seconds of seeing it, I'm gonna watch it anyway. So I don't. It doesn't, like, for me to watch or like engage with it. I'm not looking like, well, this only had 100 comments, so no, I'm actually not gonna comment.
No, yeah.
That's not how our behavior works. Like, our behavior works off of visual cues. So it's like, just strip the engagements away. Like, we don't actually need them to stay longer on the app to operate. Like, if you couldn't see engagements on ESPN right now, would you be like, I'm not following ESPN because I can't even see their likes?
I mean, now that's what they're
All
like.
current,
They turned it off, right? Like you have the ability to turn off likes now,
but
and
still leaving the comments and the views and the
yeah,
like just strip it all. But the thing is
yeah,
that it's currency for them, right? Like
mm-hmm.
from an advertising perspective. But I mean, I'ma just throw a word of advice, man. Keep doing the series and keep like repost that clip to the story every day until enough people and I see DM it to people, send it in the DMs like, have you seen this one? Like, bro, like this is crazy. Like, I mean, you gotta fuck with the algorithm sometimes, you know, like
Yeah,
unfortunately. And that's why like a lot of times when we're working with our like the clients we work with, it's just like that's like one of the first things we tell them in day one onboarding, like don't even get caught up in what the post is actually doing because you actually don't have control over that.
mm-hmm.
You know, like I remember days I started in social media in the industry and it was like literally was sitting in rooms with these brands and it was like, well, we want this post to garner 10,000 likes. And
Yeah,
back then you could do that shit. You could actually do it.
right,
You know, you could either pay to play or you knew exactly like what was the right formula to get the post to do something.
mm-hmm.
Now with a non-chronological algorithm, ads in the mix, all type of stuff going on, like it's actually not up to your control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so don't like when the clip is like 200 views, the clip ain't bad. Clip, I'm sure it's fire. You know what I'm saying? It's just they've literally created a formula to like feed what they need to feed when they want to feed it to who they want to feed. So it's literally out of our control. Literally
Yeah.
out of our control.
It's
Like it's
true.
crazy.
It's true. I mean, like, every time or every week or even recently, I was just on my boy Prozac's pod Kicks Chronicle. He's in the UK. It's like a similar podcast to this, but we were talking about how to kind of lost my train of thought there. But wait, I got it. So we were talking about how we were talking about like just the way we represent and present ourselves on social of like what are we doing with this and doing with that, and it's kind of like no, that's actually not what I was talking about. I got it. I'm back. I got it. I'm keeping all this in. But it was actually about like not feeling that other people are doing the same thing that you're doing
Mm.
when it comes to like that's what I was saying. So me and him have a similar podcast, but he's super like sneaker oriented. Like he will hit you with specific sneaker right questions, and I'm over here.
Ways,
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah. So I'm here like I want to learn about you through sneakers, right? So like he and I've been through this before where he thought that like his idea was super original, this and that, and then here I come along, and I've been doing this podcast for 4 years, and I'm asking this similar question, and I was just like, listen, whenever it comes to anything, nobody can do it like you. Like you
Yes.
have your own story, you have your own twist, you've been through different things than everybody else, so just push whatever you're being creative with, and just push it forward and keep trying, because even if you do it one time or a couple times, like as long as you take a different approach the next time, or like you mess with it, like you make it fun for yourself, it's going to be fun regardless, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
But so I say that at the same time to be like, yeah, I'll still get upset when my videos get 200 views.
Absolutely. And that's like that white bread owl analogy, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
or just bread owl analogy. Like, you go into the store, you see hella bread brands. Like,
Mm-hmm.
imagine if, I don't know, like the second bread brand that was ever created was just like, it's already some bread out there, so I'm not gonna make bread. And then the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and like everybody decided that that's what they wanted to do, but they do it in a different way, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like we said, like if you just stay genuine, authentic to like what you want to do, man, just do it. Like don't worry about all the other factors out there. Because if you really think about it, like that never stopped anybody before. Like these
Mm-hmm.
apps been around for, let's give them 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they've been around for 20 years. I think Facebook came out 2004. I'm older than 20 years. You're older than 20 years. So just think about like I've been doing me longer than Facebook even like existed.
Yo,
Like
facts.
like that's like, so it's just like it's
Put
not.
that on a shirt. I've been doing me longer than Facebook.
I mean, it's true. Like when you put that into perspective, it's like, damn. Especially when it's like people that like I don't know. I'm 32, so it's like when people are just like older and they're like really pressed on these apps. Like when we get clients that are a little bit older than me, I'm like, bro, you realize you've been doing this before the app, right? So like, I
Yeah.
need you to keep doing that. Like,
Yeah.
the app is just a medium, a platform, and that like that again, that's like the blessing and the curse of it. Like just like you said about your friend in the UK, like even if y'all had the same exact podcast with the same exact questions, his corner of the sneaker world is different than my corner of the sneaker world, different
Right.
than yours. Like I'm always just amazed about us that have like become friends through Instagram, through sneakers, because I'm like, where are the girls from like Australia then? Like the world traveler and me wants to know like all
Yeah.
of the sneaker world in the world. I'm like, we just know our pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just know our pockets, and the more that we connect, it grows. And to me, that's the beauty of it all. Like, I don't care what my videos get. I don't care. Like, that's the beauty of all, the fact that like I'm connecting like with this dude from like actually from Rio. Like, what? Like, what in what world like would somebody have written this up besides after a pandemic?
It's true. It's true. Because yeah, I mean, I feel like when the pandemic happened, there was like, I felt like it was like the reset button. It's gonna give us it all. It all gave us a chance to do what we really wanted to do.
Do what we
So
really wanted to do. We met people we never even like. We didn't realize I guess the draw and the just I guess like feel like honestly like electricity of connection that we were longing for.
Yeah.
Like we thought it was just like, oh, we shut down, we can't see our friends. Oh, we shut down, we can't see our family. But the groups and the pages and the things that have come up from the pandemic, it's like, dude, this is wild. Like as a world, like as a society, we were longing for connection.
Yeah.
It's fucking
And
crazy.
and now when we go outside, we outside now. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's so crazy now. Especially after like, you know, I mean, I know you're your mother now, so it's not like you're not hitting up the parties,
No,
so
I'm glad you know. No,
yeah, yeah.
my parties involve diapers
Yeah, I was gonna say
and Gracie's corner.
you're doing mom parties. You're
Right.
hitting up, you're like, yeah, yeah. I mean, those is fun too, so you never know. So,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, the like coming out of the pandemic, I've been going out more and going to events more. We're seeing a lot more events pop
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So like, yeah, big reset. But Sid, we're towards the end of the podcast. I always ask another question at the end of the podcast, and that is deals with a little bit of visualization. I always mess up that word when I say it. So I want you to think back to young Sid about to open those that box of you said black and pink
14.
Jordan 14s, right? Now you travel back in time behind yourself. What would you tell younger Sid as she opens that box?
I would tell her these are more than just shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and to just always like be where your feet are. Like these are shoes. This is something that you not only wanted, but you worked for and continue to just work and like lace them up tight, keep them on, like, and keep going. Like no matter what's on your feet, just keep going.
Keep going. Perfectly said. I mean, I actually should have said for you to do your shout out, your your plugs here. But thank you so much for hopping on. I'm gonna do a little bit. I'm gonna do my little plugs real quick. If you don't remember, I am Who's Haas on all social media. Follow the podcast on My First Kicks Pod. Follow the podcast, or if you are listening to this and you wanted to watch this, go on YouTube. My First Kicks on YouTube. If you have a story, hit me up. myfirstkickspod@gmail.com. And you know what we say every week to everybody out there: wear your kicks. Peace.
Peace. Thank you.